Welcome to Intuition Unleashed, a revolution in personal liberation. The go-to podcast that helps you access intuitive guidance combined with mental health and spirituality. Let your intuition guide you and unlock a life of true liberation. And now your host, Becc Nelson.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Intuition Unleashed. I'm your host, Becc Nelson. And today, oh my God, you guys, I cannot even. Today, I have a magical guest. And I say this every flipping week, but listen, this week, I really, really, really mean it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because this lovely lady here is one of my besties from, can't even tell you for how long. We will not do the math. I think we just said like 40 years.
Yeah.
I do not want to take the math. This is my friend since at least high school. I knew her from, I keep wanting to say your maiden name, but her name is Sara Knight. She has had many incarnations since I have known her, and probably since before. I'm so excited to introduce my friend Sara. Today it's magical because it's also her birthday. Happy another day around the sun, Sara.
Yes, solar return. Yeah. It's also new moon in Scorpio today at Mercury retrograde. So that'll blow your head off.
Listen, that is not my thing, but when I hear it, I just go hunting under the covers sometimes. So listen, this is magical. If you guys know the both of us, please, I hope you can message in if you're watching us live on the Transformation Network. Please call in and I can see on the chat when somebody calls to ask questions. So I know we've got some people out there. Today we have so much to cover. So I want to get right into it. Sara, I'm so excited to have you here. This is like a full circle kind of moment.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It was really fortuitous and it felt totally aligned that you messaged me to ask me to do this. So I'm really excited to be here today.
And we always know things happen in their divine timing, but this is actually something that we've talked about having a discussion about on this type of forum for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I remember sitting in your living room having these discussions about we need to talk about this.
Yep.
So you are, of course, there's no coincidences. We both grew up to be licensed mental health clinicians. And I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. You are a licensed mental health counselor, right? And we both, I think, have been very disillusioned by the practice of mental health, particularly in our state and in all around, and how we've become to be dictated how we're going to do our jobs by different systems.
Yep.
And so both of us actually have turned to a more spiritually based practice. And today I want to specifically talk about yours because they're both things that are not in my wheelhouse. And I personally have had some very interesting conversations with you about both of these pieces, the energetic piece and also the microdosing, which when I put this post up that we were going to be discussing, is a lot of people messaged me and said, this is actually something that's not talked about a lot. They can't find a whole lot of information about it, and they want more information about it.
Yeah.
They're very excited to hear all about this. So I shut up, Becc, and allow her to talk, right? So I had put up talking about witchcraft, but you used another word that begins with a TH, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
Thaumaturgy.
Thaumaturgy. Okay.
Thaumaturgy. It's like thaumaturgy.
Okay. That word. So you identify as a witch and a thaumaturgist.
Yep.
And on top of that, you're a Reiki master and just some amazing things that I want my audience to hear all about.
Yeah.
You were always somebody that I had admired because I remember in school, I was like afraid to just like not get in trouble. And not that you followed the rules for sure, but there were a couple of rules that if you didn't agree with them, you just kind of did your thing. And other people like, oh gosh, don't talk about it. Don't go around her. But you have always continued to be true to your authentic self. And this is just an extension of that. We're in our 50s now. So You're like, yep, that's me.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this work for a long time, but this is sort of a signature question that I always begin with.
Mhm.
Okay. So the universe has a habit of handing us unexpected opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
At the time, we look at it and say, why me? And we don't see it for what it is, but it really is a gift. It becomes a gift and also becomes part of our path and our purpose. So, can you tell us about a moment like that was transformational for you? Can you share that with us?
First of all, I have to say that those things have happened to me my whole life. And it's your whether one of the things you talked about was one of the things that happened in high school, which is too involved to discuss right now. But that thing that happened,
Mm-hmm.
it went in a direction I never thought it was going to go in. And it really shook up my whole sense of myself. And I felt very much, why is this happening to me? And it took me a long time to recognize it was happening for me, which I was listening to one of your old guest spots when you were on someone else's show and you talked about this. Yeah. So
Oh,
recently, yep. Well, I was like, I want to hear what she sounds like again because I hadn't listened in a while. So anyway, recently, very recently, something really big came into my field, and the first thing that happened was that I got triggered on every level, in every way, from that incident in high school all the way through several other events in my life. And I just felt everything, it's an IFS moment, internal family systems moment, where this firefighter came out
uh-huh.
and the firefighter's like, are you effing kidding me right now? Okay, so this is what happened. And I have to talk about this in a very kind of vague way because there's people involved.
Yep.
So, over the summer, I was I sold my house and I moved and I was drawn into a new social circle and uh, I guess it was upsetting to someone. And this person decided to make a real serious attempt to derail me and to really hurt me. And this person made a complaint against my license to practice.
Oh,
Yes.
oh,
And said, and made the complaint anonymously. And I won't get into how I know it was them, but I have actual proof that it was this person. I know exactly who it was. And it was a completely unfounded complaint. And it did actually point the finger at me around the microdosing thing, which we'll get to. And I was furious. I was furious because this, when somebody makes a complaint on your license, it may or may not actually show up as you did something wrong, but the fact that the complaint was made stays on your record forever. That never ever goes away. You could commit a crime and come out better. But as a mental health practitioner, once you have that, has your license ever been investigated? Check the box. Okay. So I felt like my whole career was just upended by this because if I want to get into corporate, which I hope I never ever have to do again, I probably will be overlooked by the algorithms. La 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 la. Okay. In the middle of the firefighter coming out and wanting to just burn the whole thing to the ground, this little voice in my head came through and said, you have been saying you want to get out of the mental health model for years.
I just got chills. Yes.
And the universe said, here, let me give you this BITCH.
Wow.
And
Head to toe chills, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
so I wrote about this. It's on my Substack. People can read about it on my Substack. But this is the thing that this person was practicing a form of witchcraft, which is a spell cast, right? To try to have something negative happen. And the reality is that I believe that this person is still walking around thinking that they accomplished their end. The truth is that they gave me a gift that they can never take back and empowered me to get out of the model. It was
Wow.
happening for me, not to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, this is amazing on so many ways. And this is actually a teachable moment too for our audience because we've talked about this on other episodes, y'all. What this what they're talking about is if the universe is always listening to you. So if you don't step into whatever they're saying that you want, then they will find a way to assist you in that.
Yep.
And I'm using the word assist.
Yep.
And so what you're talking about is really a gift. Thank you for sharing that with us, because when you said that, that's the first thing I thought of is, holy shit, this is your whole livelihood that this person's messing with, and how dare they? But honestly, the universe heard, I'm done with this, and they said, you're not doing it, so we're just going to give you a little help.
Little push.
And
Yep.
so really, you're actually also trying to find gratitude for this person instead of sitting in that anger, which is only going to affect you and your energy.
Yeah, and the reality is that nobody's perfect at this. And to be totally honest, I vacillate between being upset by it and being
You're human.
the manager, the exile, the firefighter, they all still kind of come out around it. But I know what's up, right? And so I work with that magic and I use that power, right, to empower myself. And it's been an incredible shift for me. This is not the first time this has happened to me, where I make lemonade out of lemons. But this particular one is something that I've been moving towards and just keep getting kind of hooked and stuck, hooked and stuck, hooked and stuck. And the universe was like, no more of this. Here, we're going to give you this thing. And here you go. And it's been phenomenal.
What a gift that you've been able to turn that anger into gratitude.
Yeah,
That's a strength.
it was not gonna help me to stay there.
It's not. Whew, I'd have to admit, if that happened to me, I would struggle with that piece, and we're only human.
Yeah,
right? So our human piece comes out.
totally.
Oh, I had head to toe chills when you were sharing that. Thank you so much. Because you know that incident that happened in high school there was actually a story in the paper.
Yep.
That I was also interviewed for it. So I still have that.
I do too.
You can all look that up if you want.
Or not.
Wow. Or not. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. That's really amazing. It's something for our listeners to take away, because things sometimes are not happening to you. They're happening for you.
Everything is happening for you. That's magic. That's magic.
So let's get into this, because when I look on your site, Magick is not spelled the traditional way. It is Magick, Magick. So talk a little bit about what that is. Why is it spelled differently? And how about that other word that begins with the T that we already know I can't say?
Well, so I have a obsession with words, and I love to go into an etymological rabbit hole with words. And I took Latin in high school and got really into the origin of languages at that time. So this word, thaumaturgy, I was looking for something that wasn't just magic, that wasn't magician, that wasn't witch, I wanted something different. I wanted something that, I wanted the IST. I wanted the IST. Therapist.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And so I stumbled on this word, and it's so fun because it's a word that it has a Greek origin. It means wonder worker. And it came up through the spirituality movement, the spiritualist movement, right, in the late early 1900s. And it was quite vogue then, a thaumaturgist, this was like an up-leveled magician. And so alchemy is part of this word. And when you start to look at witch and Wicca and these words that are all kind of related to each other, they all sort of drill down to this one thing, someone who can work with what is happening around them and transform it into something else. Does that answer?
I like that.
The spelling, let me tell you, but the spelling is just, the word magic, has other sort of mage, right? I put the K on the end of it because it's very common to see that in the pagan traditions when they're using the word magic. It's also common to see it spelled with a J instead of a G. And so when we take it back to some of these original spellings, we're kind of taking back the vibrational magic of the word.
Okay. I understand. Okay. We're reclaiming that.
Yes.
Uh, So go back to this word witch
Yeah.
or even magic. What
Yeah.
I have been noticing is that when I started posting a couple of years back stuff about spirituality and related things on my Facebook page, all of a sudden I was hearing crickets. And I'm like, well, people just are don't know how to respond to this topic. But then I'll see the same people post things from Wiccan sites, like, praise be, or, whatever, all those things. And I'm like, why are they separating those two pieces?
Separating spirituality from Wicca.
Yes. And then saying, I don't believe in this, but I'll post about this.
I don't believe in this. Me, I don't believe in spirituality.
They won't, yeah, they won't respond to it, or they act like, oh, I don't do mediumship, or I don't believe that, but they'll do and to me they're all integrated.
I don't know. I mean, I can't. I don't know. That's a really interesting thing to kind of dig into. But it's all magic. You know
Right,
what I
it's
mean?
all the
Like
universe, it's all spirituality.
it
I don't
you
get it.
you're
And
messing around with intangibles. And when you do that, you're practicing you're practicing it's all the same stuff by another name. I think people get freaked out with spirituality because they think it's going to draw them into monotheistic places, and I think people are resistant to that. Who are dabbling in Wicca. They don't want to get pulled into a
I say,
monotheistic
I
nomenclature.
say,
Yeah.
I'm glad you can let that word just roll off your tongue. So talk to me about Wiccan, witchcraft, whatever. Let me use the right terminology here. What are the what are the myths? What are the things that we need to dispel? And what are the truths?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think the best thing to do is do a lot of reading about it. And one of the best writers who is deceased now, but on this topic is Margot Adler. She wrote several different books on this topic, but probably the most popular one is Drawing Down the Moon. And it's a phenomenal book about the history of these practices, the craft, and where it all kind of comes from, what the different sects and cults are and things like this. And she did a beautiful job of Norma. She was a famous and very well respected journalist on NPR, and she also was in this world of occult and Wicca and stuff like that. What it isn't, well, I'll tell you what magic isn't. It's not a single directional experiment. In other words, when I referring back to what happened over the summer, this person, okay, also publicly called out my witchiness as if that was a bad thing, and tried to scare people off of me because of my identification as a witch, and then did this thing to me, right? Trying to get my license, impinged or whatever, right? And I'm like, you just did witchcraft. You just did witchcraft. You cast a spell on me when you did that. That is spell casting. When you energetically, literally, or otherwise influence energies in any direction toward another person. I wish you were this. I wish you wouldn't do that. I'm going to F with your mojo. That's spell casting. Everybody does it every day. Everybody does it every day. It's very normal. People do it. People do it who don't even know they're doing it. It's not one direction though. It's, if you, as above, so below. If you put it out, it's going to come back. There's a boomerang effect. And what we say when we in the craft, in the practice, is whatever you put out, you're going to get it back at least threefold.
Which some people refer to as karma.
Yeah, some people call that karma. Karma is something completely different. That's like another whole show. But karma, people do call that karma, but it really is just about, whatever energy you put out, you are a part of that energy. So if you put negative energy out, it's going to come back at you. It's the same thing as, is it happening to me or is it happening for me? And this is not meant to be something you mentioned in the preliminary stuff. This isn't bypassing. bad stuff happens in the world. It's not about making, all of the tragic things that happen in the world like it's okay. It's just bad energy. You can fix it with good energy. It doesn't really work like that. It's that said, your individual power to bring something good into the world is much bigger than you think it is if you stay in that space. Does this make sense?
Yes. So you mentioned the talk. Go back to spiritual bypassing for a minute, 'cause that's something that we have not also talked about. But go ahead and talk about that piece for a minute.
About bypassing?
Yes.
It's like you're not taking responsibility for the principles that you claim to stand on. Or you use your spirituality as an excuse to get away with doing some really bad shit to other people. For example, this has been really exposed in the yoga teacher world. There are some really big names in yoga who have sexually abused their students and their followers, and they've done so in the name of yoga. That's bypassing. Yep. And trying to make everything that you do okay because you're spiritual.
Right. It is. Do you think that, I mean, using this as an example from the summer, is that this is kind of what this woman was doing? Putting this out there in the name of, we need to expose this.
Oh no, that was just vengeance.
Oh,
Pure vengeance. Just absolute vengeance. Just a hurricane trying to, you know, hurt people hurt people. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't heal, you don't do the work to heal your stuff, you are either directly or indirectly going to hurt people. And the thing is, none of us can ever be perfectly healed. That happens in another realm. This is a place for us to be in our imperfection and play with our imperfection and learn from our imperfections. That's what we're here for on this plane. You know, this hurt people idea is that, when somebody hurts you, it's not about you, it's about their pain. And furthermore, if you're hurt, it's it's your responsibility to yourself and to the world to work on your stuff to the capacity that you can and with the resources that are available to you. I don't want to exclude people who are under resourced here. That there are too many people in the world that do not have access to the tools, the support, the magic, whatever, to begin their own soothing, their own reintegration. Make sense?
so what people don't understand either, you said hurt people, is that when you do hurt someone, you're actually saying way more about yourself than you are about the other person at all.
Oh yeah, totally.
And people don't understand that that's what they're exposing themselves.
Totally. Making
So
themselves.
can you so say more about what magic or witchcraft or whatever we're going to call it, Wiccan, what is it really? What is the basis of it, so people aren't afraid of it?
Okay, so the basis of so the word witch was originally used to describe men and women who use their wisdom to to change things. That's being as neutral as possible. And there were people who practiced these crafts who did not use it for good. But there were also people who were not self-identifying as witches who were practicing witchcraft, right? So what is witchcraft? I mean, that is just witchcraft. Okay, this is a very personal definition. Thaumaturgy, witchcraft, is the way that you relate to your environment in a reciprocity, and the way that you are able to identify tools and resources in your environment that you can use to heal yourself first, and then to heal your environment, and when other people are asking for it, helping other people heal as well. You
Good
never
point.
give healing unless people are asking for it,
Good
because
point.
it just doesn't
Yes.
work. Yeah.
Right. When people are like, can you send Reiki to so and so? No, we can't.
No.
Not without their permission.
Yeah.
And also I've been studying hypnotherapy. You cannot hypnotize somebody without their consent.
Consent. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Okay,
that's a
so
real super general definition of magic, right? And I don't want to get any more specific than that, because then you're getting into something that frightens people, right? And
and the reason that society has done that is old as time.
the reason that society has done that is, this is very, very controversial, but I'm just going to go there. We live in a patriarchal culture. Most of the world is oppressed by a patriarchal culture. Even men are oppressed by the patriarchal culture, because the patriarchy is a small group of powerful men and the women who feel um, supportive of that kind of power, and it's exploitative, right? So people are frightened because what the patriarchy does is it finds ways to pit women against each other, and to make women seem frightening. And that's what the witch hunt is all about, right? It's not
Mm-hmm.
even about witches, it's about women. When women, and I'm not just referring to people, cisgendered women, people who identify as women, come together, when the feminine comes together, there is a powerful holistic magic that naturally occurs, that it can outdo just about anything. And
You got that right.
it does not work in oppressive forms of power. And so breaking it apart, separating it, that's what is meant to happen in the patriarchy. So witchcraft is scary to people, not because witches are scary, but because nobody wants to be identified as a witch, because we don't want to be witch hunted.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
What a place for us to take a break on. Thank you, Sarah. We're just going there. So when we come back from our 2-minute break, now we're going to start talking about the microdosing and
Yes.
the magic of microdosing.
Love it.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with my guest, Sara Knight. I'm so honored to have, and we're having this conversation that really I feel like we've been having for 40 years. So, and we thought an hour was going to be, not enough. So, I want to make sure, thank you for talking about the magic in the first piece, and that T word that I won't say.
The matter.
Oh, no, I can't. Now we're going to talk about the microdosing, and I don't know which topic is more controversial.
Oh,
Witchcraft.
right. No. Yeah, they're the same.
Same. Okay. I'm giving you the floor.
Okay, so I have to make my little disclaimer now, if that's okay. This topic that we're about to talk about, I have to say that, first of all, microdosing or megadosing or anything with medicines, I'm using that term loosely, substances that are considered illegal, is not advised, and I'm not advocating for that. If you are somewhere where it's legal, I'm advocating for that. When people come to me to talk to me about these things, I operate from a place called harm reduction, which, if you're a therapist, you know what that means. It means if you come into my practice and you start telling me you're already doing this thing, then we explore where you are with this together, and then we talk about how to be safe. Because I can't, I don't want to alienate clients by saying you can't come in this room if you're playing with these things. You can't come in this room if you're actively under the influence. That's definitely clear. But yeah, so that's my disclaimer.
Thanks for the CYA.
CYA.
A couple of months ago, we did have on my friend Shaman Sarah, who talked about her ayahuasca experience and how it really opened her up to her her higher self and her intuition more and that kind of thing. It was, I shouldn't say opened her up. It basically kicked her butt.
Yeah, that's what it'll do.
My favorite thing is when she was telling me about it, and she was like, "Oh my God, I was so sick and I was throwing up. It was the worst I ever felt. I think I need to go back and do another one." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. Ayahuasca is purgative, very much purgative. Yeah. So There are lots of different, so there's ayahuasca, which is actually a combination of plant medicines used together, one to enhance the other. It's very purgative. You throw up, you have the poopies. It's crazy. But it really expands your awareness, and a lot of people claim that it helps them to make peace with their environment and in their inner self and their trauma. There are other ways, other medicines for this. There's LSD, the old trick. There's psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms. There's MDMA, which has recently gone through a load of trials. There's my dogs might bark. Sorry.
Let them bark. They're very
Then there's
passionate about this topic.
yeah, MDMA, psilocybin, magic mushrooms. There's ketamine, which is legal. Ketamine is a medicine. It is prescribed, and it is a dissociative anesthetic. So it's not technically a psychedelic, but it can be used to address the same type of experience. And you would do that in an office with somebody who's been trained and certified licensed to do it. There are lots of different ways to do this, but safety is really, really important. So whatever people are starting to think about, do your research, do tons of research, tons and tons and tons of research. Yeah, so that's kind of an opening salvo.
And that's how Matthew Perry died, a ketamine overdose.
Yeah, ketamine, amongst other things. Yeah, yeah, but that's why you do it with a physician, because you can monitor it.
So what is the status of it? What specifically, which ones are we talking about? The ones that you're referring to specifically, and kind of, I'm opening the floor to you because I could ask so many questions.
Oh my gosh. Well, so MDMA, LSD, and psilocybin that's the magic mushroom medicine. They're all being studied for use in treating things like PTSD, and treatment resistant depression, and people who have high levels um, or frequent sense of self-harm. So, and it can help for a lot of other things, eating disorders, like a host of different things. But those are the main things: PTSD, trauma, and treatment resistant depression. They've been
Good luck.
studied.
Good
They've been
results.
with very good results, although the studies have come under scrutiny. And the reason for that is that psychedelics are not like other medicine. You cannot study them the way you study other medicine. It just doesn't work that way. And it's not every person's interaction with these substances is different. And because the client or the person who's under the influence is in a highly suggestible state, that makes it really, really difficult to do all the controls, right? To make sure that the study hasn't been sort of skewed in a certain direction. So I don't know what's going to happen. Things have gotten pretty quiet since the MDMA thing was rejected by the FDA. And who knows what's going to happen under this, you know,
Administration.
But I'm pretty sure that our buddy there, RFK, has experienced some fun times on psychedelics. Don't quote me on that. So who knows what's going to happen? But the reality is that there is a lot of evidence to say that these particular ones, um, LSD and psilocybin, let's say, are very, very safe. Okay, and the reason for that is that you can take a lot of it, a lot of it, and long-term permanent damage. That's a mythology that we got, back in the 60s and 70s. It's just not a real thing. The amount that you would have to take to reach a toxicity that would cause actual permanent harm is so enormous. You wouldn't. Other things would happen that would stop you from continuing. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
In other words, you can't physically eat enough mushrooms to like overdose on them.
Okay.
It's just not possible. Yeah.
So when we're talking about microdosing, we're specifically talking about mushrooms, LSD,
MDMA, any of them really. If you
Okay.
can get them in microdosing quantities, right? Which can be challenging, especially if you're in a state where they're illegal. Hear me say, don't do it in a state where it's illegal.
Do do we know how many states it's legal in right now?
I think it's 2, and it's not even the entire state. So I think Colorado and Oregon. And
That is,
I may
that's
be a
almost,
little behind on this because I just got so flooded with it all that I was just like, I've heard enough, you know?
those are not the states that I would have thought. I would have thought California, Utah, something like that.
No, Colorado and Oregon.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is something that you personally have uh, tried, like experienced.
Yes. Mm-hmm. When we were in high school, I was kind of quasi. The only thing I ever did was indulge in smoking marijuana and a little bit of drinking. But I was afraid to do any of this other stuff. I was terrified of everything else. I'd heard all the propaganda and I was just absolutely terrified of anything else. But I would often be at a party where someone was tripping their, you know, what's off. And I suddenly became a trip sitter because of this. Like I would get, oh, you're tripping your face off and you don't feel good. Go sit with her. And I would hold their hand and tell them everything was going to be all right. You
That
know,
sounds like you. Yeah.
very amateur, but that's what, yeah. And it just that's what it was like. And then I didn't get an opportunity to experience psilocybin until I was in my 30s. And someone that I was dating was really into it, and I did it a couple of times, and it was wild, and it was great, and it just really opened my heart, and it made me feel such a sense of wonderment for everything around me. It just was wonderful. I only did it a couple of times, and then I just didn't have access to it and just didn't think about it for a long time. But then I started to hear about microdosing on some of the crazy podcasts that I listened to. And right around that same time, I also decided, maybe I have ADHD. And I went and got a neuropsych, and sure enough, you go, got ADHD. I took I took the prescribed medications, and the ones that I took made me gravely ill, and then the ones that they recommended that I take, my insurance wouldn't pay for, and I couldn't afford them out of pocket. And then I remembered the microdosing thing, and I just kind of put it out there in the universe. I wonder if somebody's, got some. And I did manage to get a hold of some, and I tried it, and it was a game changer. Almost an F bomb there. It was that kind of game changer. It was an F bomb game changer.
So we're not talking about the same dose that you would have when you were in your when you tried it at
No,
whatever.
no. We're talking about 100 milligrams or less of dried mushroom, which psilocybin is about 1% of that. So you're talking about psilocin, which is the potent compound. You're talking about 1 milligram of that. It's such a tiny amount. You don't feel, if you're doing this correctly, if you're taking actual microdoses, you don't feel like you've taken a drug. You might feel like, oh, this feels kind of like my SSRI, or oh, this is a little bit like my low dose Adderall. You might feel things kind of like that, but you don't get whacked. You don't start, the walls don't start like, woo. That doesn't happen.
Unless you like them to.
I mean, you
So
could.
so the, so it, so many questions. Why does this work? What you've had your personal
Yep.
experiences with other people,
Yep.
and what you've read.
Yep.
Why does this work?
Okay, it works because psilocybin uh, is it expands the your access to more of your brain. That's putting it really simply. There's a lot of chemistry involved here that particularly relates to dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. And so what happens is it bypasses some of the, it works it similarly to an SSRI. It just gives you more access to these brain chemicals that are known as happy chemicals. Dopamine is a short acting happy chemical, serotonin is a longer acting happy chemical. So you don't get these like, woof, whoa, happy with the serotonin effect. You do get that with dopamine. So it just gives you more access to it. It does a couple of other things. It turns on your executive center just like a stimulant would, and it gives you a sense of self awareness that you wouldn't necessarily have. For people who tend to be reactive, this this substance helps to intercept that reactivity.
Put that in some layman's terms there.
It helps you to not be a firefighter.
Right.
You
You're
don't
talking
come
I
in as
that's
you don't come in hot. You know
coming
what I
hot.
mean?
Okay. So you have more control.
Yeah,
You don't have the emotional
reactivity.
response. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of research has been finding that this helps where nothing else has before.
It's helped people who have debilitating migraines, like the really, really bad kind, the cluster headaches, people who have experienced extreme suicidality around their cluster headaches have been able to find a way to live a normal life using this medicine.
Now, is that something that you would always have to take, or can you take it for a certain period of time and then it would actually?
I can't speak to the cluster headache piece. I know that the way that I learned about microdosing was through the Microdosing Institute in the Netherlands, which anybody can access. Just Google Microdosing Institute Netherlands and you'll find it. I already came in with a lot of knowledge, but I went through one of their programs, and I also did a ton of research. Dr. James Fadiman, who is one of the earliest researchers of this, this is something that goes back to like Timothy Leary, Richard Alpert Ram Dass, like back in the 60s at Harvard. They were already, this is like the third renaissance of psychedelics where we are right now. It just keeps coming back around. Um,
Why does it keep getting declined? Or not?
because it's cheap.
Uh-huh. So this is going to hit big pharma. That's what you're
Oh,
saying.
they're already trying to figure out how to have their piece of that pie, but it's really hard when you're talking about a fungus that grows like pretty much anywhere. The thing about the psilocybin family of psilocybe, the family of mushrooms, is that there are varieties of psilocybe that grow all over the world. Every culture in the world, okay, has access to psilocybe mushrooms that contain psilocybin. And so one of the beautiful things about this medicine, getting a little bit off target here, is that we worry less about the cultural appropriation that can happen with these medicines. Like ayahuasca, that is a sacred medicine. It belongs to a particular culture. We are fooling around with their culture. And this happened with mushrooms too, right? The whole story of Maria Sabina, people should look up Maria Sabina and how she was appropriated and lied to by our Gordon, uh, what is Wasson, I think is his name. Anyway, not a cool guy. But mushrooms have exist in everywhere. You can find them everywhere. And so to worry about the cultural appropriation of them is a little less problematic unless you're like stealing the ritual from another culture. Does this make sense?
Mhm. And is this something that is often used in conjunction with the
Thaumaturgy?
dermatology? Yes, I said it.
I mean, I can't speak to that because I don't know any other thaumaturgists.
Okay. Well, how about this one? This one does it. How would you, what would you recommend to people who are willing to try it or want to get into trying
Yeah,
it?
I first of all educate yourself. Educate yourself, educate yourself, educate yourself. So look up the work of if you go to there's the Microdosing Institute, they have a podcast on Spotify. Listen to every single episode. The very first couple of episodes are with Dr. James Fadiman, where he really puts a foundation on this to understanding what is this stuff and how does it work and why is it so promising. So I would go there. There's also some really good dispelling of myths and rumors about what can happen when you take this stuff and what the relative safety is and who shouldn't take it, because there are people who shouldn't. If a person is diagnosed with, say, paranoid schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder,
Ooh.
you should not play with these medicines. And MAOI, people who take MAOI inhibitors, do not mess with these medicines. All that information is out there. One of the nice things about it is it doesn't really interact with very many other medicines.
Well, that's going to be another question of our audience, right? So a lot of people like to smoke marijuana now. And can I smoke marijuana and take these together?
You can, but why? Why?
where they do a very similar
No,
thing?
they do very different things. They do very different things. But one thing that people will commonly talk about who use mushrooms in larger doses, they'll say drinking alcohol doesn't affect me when I'm on mushrooms, which sounds really good, but it does affect your liver. It does affect your brain. It's just that you're not feeling the effects of it because there's something going on in your brain chemistry that allows you to bypass the drunkenness feeling, but you're still intoxicated. So I don't recommend that. I
Your
don't
body
recommend.
still has to detoxify you.
Yeah, and this is the other thing about um psilocybin in particular is that um you can't really use it to its best benefit when you're mixing it with other things. So for it, and I, this is my own personal opinion, but I really like an excellent single malt Isla original scotch. Okay. Don't put anything in that. Don't pollute my scotch. I just want to taste the scotch. You're going to lose something if you start putting stuff in there. Once you really understand the thing, then you can put a drop of water in there and you might see if it like opens up some other aspects. But when you're working with this stuff, psilocybin, you want to develop a relationship with it. A relationship. It's an entity, right? Mushrooms are mushrooms are more closely related to human beings than plants are. We are more similar to mushrooms than we are to grass. And that may be part of the reason why the symbiosis is so good.
Okay. So why are people, what about these people that are like, if you're talking about a higher consciousness or you're opening up different parts of your brain, aren't you saying that they're getting high?
No, it's not like that. Not if you're using tiny, tiny doses. And it's not getting high. Mushrooms don't really, psychedelics don't really get you high. They really expand your awareness and they open up your consciousness. I wouldn't say that you're getting high because it's a different thing. It's really hard to explain unless you've done both things, right? But
So I
like,
guess the debate would be when you're saying what you're seeing when you're on these, is that a hallucinate, you're hallucinating,
yeah,
or are
you're
you
hallucinating.
actually, go
Yeah,
ahead.
you're no, you're hallucinating. You're definitely hallucinating, but I wouldn't use the term high. Like it's not quite accurate. You're hallucinating. Your consciousness is altered, your awareness is expanded. Uh People, one of the things people say, "Oh, what about if you're driving a car and you're hallucinating?" Let me just tell you, when you're hallucinating, the last thing you want to do is get behind the wheel of a car. You just don't. You just don't. And the other interesting thing about there's a scientist up at Harvard, I believe it is, who studied LSD and its effects, very exclusively studied LSD and its effects. And one of the things that he has been able to present is that people who use LSD are not more likely to do bad slash violent things. That is an absolute myth. It doesn't compel people to do things that you just don't want to. You just do not want to.
And here's the thing, you might see Jesus, but how do we know that he's probably always been there?
He's always been there.
And now your consciousness is raised and you can see him.
That could
Who's
totally be a thing.
who's to
Or
say?
or Freya or Bridget or or Odin or
Mhm.
any of that. It's all the same energy.
Merlin.
Merlin, yes.
So, we've always talked in all of our shows about how important grounding is.
Hmm.
What is grounding like when you're about to take a hallucinogen? Those things don't seem like they go together.
Oh, they definitely go together. That's why a lot of people will say I don't do mushrooms indoors. One time I did them with a girlfriend of mine and we did them outdoors. And at one point we both had to use the bathroom and we both were just like, I don't want to go in there. It feels like the upside down, like from Stranger Things. It was so weird to be inside a house. Like you just want to be out in nature on the ground, literally grounding into
Grounding,
the ground.
connected to Gaia.
Yeah. So, it's a ritual. You don't use these medicines without creating a ritual around them. That's why it's not just popping a pill. You're not just popping a Zoloft and you're going to go about your day and feel better. There, in order to ground into this work, you have to have intention, right? You have to have a desire, and you have to ask for the wisdom that the mushroom wants to give you, and be open to that, because your instinct, right, to have a particular thing happen is all well and good, but the mushroom might have something different to tell you, and you have to be open to that.
Ooh, now you sound like Alice in Wonderland.
It is just that he did a lot of hallucinogens, Lewis Carroll.
So is this something, if people work with you, is this something that you walk them through as a part of their healing?
So with the disclaimer in mind, okay?
Of course.
People don't come into my practice and I'm like, you should try microdosing, because that's illegal. But oftentimes people will come to me and they'll say, I've been microdosing and I heard all these great things about it, but it's not doing anything for me. And the question is, well, is it causing you harm? Right? No, it's not causing me harm. I'm just waiting for it to do something for me. Well, are you going to keep taking it? Yes, I'm going to keep taking it. Okay. How are you doing it? Are you doing it safely? And we establish all of that. And then, I tell them, if you really feel like you want to use this to get something out of it, there are some time-tested ways that you can do that. And one of those things is to take some data, be scientific about this. Take some data. You could do something really simple with little Likert scales, 1 to 5 scales, like waking up in the morning. Every morning, I woke feeling refreshed, and rate that on a scale from 1 to 5.
So like journaling. Okay.
Yep, but real simple bullet journaling. And then if your intention is like, I was less like if you're a reactive person and you want to bring that down, okay. At the end of the day, you evaluate yourself. I was able to intercept my reactivity today on a scale of 1 to 5. And you start collecting this data, okay? That you collect this data for a month, and then you plot it out on a graph if you want, and you can see.
Oh, we have 30 seconds left. I'm watching her count us down. Clearly, you need to come back. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with us, and all your wisdom. We so appreciate it. Sara Knight, one of my besties that we've been friends forever, and now we've come full circle. I love you so much. You can connect on her social, and her website is right underneath her. Thank you so much. I love you. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Intuition Unleashed. We hope you found it informative and thought-provoking. But before you go, we have one little challenge for you. Most of us have sneaky little habits that hold us back and trip us up, so why not take this not at all uncomfortable quiz to find out what you do to derail yourself from achieving your goals, and how you can call yourself out on your own BS. So get to know your self-sabotage specialty and take the first step towards getting out of the way of your own success. Just visit https:/becknelson.com/quiz and take the quiz now. That's becknelson.com/quiz, and we can't wait to see your results. As always, we'll be back next week with more Intuition Unleashed. We appreciate you. Thanks for listening.